55% of you don't subscribe. So if you like our videos, do us a favour and hit the subscribe button. If you do, then we'll be able to bring you more videos that are hopefully better and more attuned to what you want. It helps way more than you know. So just hit that little button. Nice camp wrap up. It's been 9 days in Nice. So yeah, it's been really productive actually. Ticked off a few different things. Like the main objective was obviously seeing the course quite a lot on the bike. So like the main focus this week was the bike, the descent, getting to know it quite well. Kind of learning how to corner. Descending is not my strong suit, so it's definitely something I've been working probably a bit too hard on, to be honest, and like overthinking it. But yeah, that was the main aim, to kind of learn what we could about the course, work out, you know, like where you can stay on your aero bars, where you potentially have to like brake, etc. And then we also combined that with doing some shooting for some of the sponsors. So we had Argon 18, Parkour and Classified Out. So yeah, again, really productive, got a good load of content for them, and also really nice to meet some of the people that I've not met from those teams yet, so that was good, like in person. Had a few challenges with the weather. I mean, it's obviously late March, so kind of what can you expect in Europe? But yeah, I think all things considered, we were like relatively lucky actually that we only had like 2 real days of proper rain. But yeah, it just meant the week was not quite like a normal week. And obviously like some of the rides we spent just kind of driving up, descending down on the bike, driving back up, descending back down. So like there were some rides like today that was like an hour of riding, but like 3.5 hours of like driving up and around it. So yeah, generally been a good week. It's been logistically quite challenging because where we're staying, because our aim, like our focus was for the bike course, we're staying like quite far away from a pool. So the pool's been like half an hour away each way, which, you know, an extra hour of traveling somewhere each day is quite a lot. And yeah, there's not that much running like straight from the door. So again, we've had to like drive a little bit to run, and yeah, so a little bit more logistics than just training from home. But yeah, really good. Like managed to get a really good block of training in, as well as ticking off all the stuff we wanted to do in terms of seeing the course, doing lots of times of the descent. I think I've now done the descent maybe like 13 times. I feel like pretty confident. I know where the tricky bits are. I think I've figured out how to descend better. So yeah, feeling pretty good about the week. Basically the main descent from just past the top of Vons that takes you down back to where you rejoin the first bit of the course. So yeah, like basically the last bit of anything tricky before you basically descend back down to the front and then you're on the straight bit. It's not a massively technical descent. It just, you know, there are some corners that look worse than they are. There's bits that it's good to know where certain bits are. Yeah, so creating with the sponsors was made quite a lot easier by the fact there was quite a clear brief. So I think like between the 3 different brands, they knew what they wanted to get out of it, whether it was like particular videos, particular photos, particular bits of interviews. So yeah, there was a really clear plan. We obviously had a bit of help as well, in that they had the minivan, so like they could do some of the driving around while I was riding and drive Jack around to get some of the bits of video and photos. And yeah, it was pretty good. I think we had some good back and forth on some things that potentially they wanted that I didn't want to do because it impacted on sleep, but we came to the agreement to get all the stuff we needed in the end. Generally, like, I think really productive. I think they're going to get obviously some great content out of it. And from a classified perspective as well, really good to meet one of the product guys, Yannick, who was able to kind of set the bike up a bit more, put on like the double shifter that I didn't have before, and also talk me a bit more through like some of the gear ratios and stuff, like when we're looking at the course and deciding what to use. So it's good. Next, so taking a leap of faith. I'm going to go to Singapore. So there's a few reasons. I was hoping to get a wild card, like a proper wild card, to race the T100. I didn't get one, but I am the first reserve. So because we're doing the heat block, and because Al's going to be out there, so it kind of, I've got someone to train with for a bit, we decided it would make sense to travel out anyway, in the hope that someone doesn't quite make it to the start line and I get a start. But if I don't, then I still get a good 2-week block of training out there in the heat as part of my heat block, and I get to watch the race. Even if I don't get to race, it'll be amazing to be able to watch Indy do her stuff and obviously be there to support Al too. So yeah, there seemed like a lot more pros than cons to go in. Like, it's obviously quite long travel, which is the major con, but yeah, it seemed worth it for getting the kind of more aggressive heat prep in, because then we can kind of see how that plays out in the run up to Hamburg, as to whether that's something that we should be doing kind of more aggressively, less aggressively. So I'm on a flight tomorrow night to go to Singapore. So I'll be there for 2 weeks. We're actually going to spend a week training in Malaysia before heading to Singapore of race week. That was just to kind of not be in a city for a week. I actually think the training's probably all right in Singapore, having spoken to a few people, but I think it'll be a little bit quieter. Not quite in the city. So a week with Al and Aaron at Malaysia, and then head into Singapore and see everyone. So with this kind of race, and with it not being like top priority, obviously, because it's not one that I've had loads of time to prepare for, we are going to treat it. I wouldn't need a massive taper either way. Like, I'd probably maybe do like 3-4 days of taper. So I've got a pretty good stretch of just training normally until having to make that decision. Like, I think it's less likely that someone flies there and then doesn't start. So we're fairly likely to know before that, like 3-4 days before the race, that someone's not made their flight out for whatever reason. There'll obviously be a bit of, not like, I'll have a couple of easy days post-travel, just because of A, I'll then be in the heat, B, long travel. So I'll be relatively fresh just from having had a couple of easy days post this block. But yeah, I'll have like some time to think about it and then make the decision.